Ronan clutched his head in disbelief, his thoughts racing as he struggled to accept that the Grand Marshal's shocking revelation was, impossibly, the truth. Ronan found himself locked in a breathless, tension-charged moment with Ade-chan, his shocked demand hanging in the air as their faces hovered dangerously close. Ade-chan thrust a glowing orb of time into Ronan's mouth, prompting Ronan's horrified gasp as Ade-chan explained with grim authority that what he had just swallowed was no ordinary object but the fabled orb itself. In the dim, revelatory glow of a blue orb, Ade-chan, her resolve etched in blood and determination, discloses that this mysterious artifact is the secret behind her improbable ascent from seamstress to Grand Marshal, explaining that its true power lies in granting the ability to turn back time up to 4 times. Against a vast, star-studded darkness, a tense realization settled as someone internally acknowledged that 3 chances had already been spent, leaving only 1 remaining and heightening the sense of foreboding. In the dim light, Ade-chan's bruised and bloodied gaze burned with fierce determination as she declared, with unwavering resolve, that she had chosen to offer a chance. In a barren autumn forest clearing shrouded by the looming shadows of giants, Ronan faced Ade-chan with determination as a cell gravely revealed that Ronan possessed the power to slay these towering threats. In the enveloping darkness, a solitary speech bubble emerged, its foreboding message revealing that someone could be the key to preventing the world's end. In a muted glow of the corridor, Ade-chan leaned in to whisper a motivating warning to Ronan, quietly observing that greater skill would be needed to succeed but reassuring him that his ambition was more than sufficient. Ronan sat battered and weary, gazing upward with longing as he quietly admitted wishing he could study at an academy before hastily insisting he had only been thinking out loud. Ade-chan told Ronan that if he wanted to become strong he should go to Filion Academy. He would find many outstanding warriors within its walls, ready to guide him. As dusk painted the sky in vivid hues, Ronan, bloodied yet steadfast, fixed his gaze forward and, with urgent determination, requested a favor from the corporal. The wind caught Ade-chan's long dark hair as, still bleeding but undaunted, he fixed his weary gaze ahead and warned in a tense voice that if anyone crossed his path again, there would be consequences. In a warmly lit room filled with the gentle glow of afternoon light, Ade-chan stood cradling folded fabric in her arms, her hopeful smile belying a quiet vulnerability as she softly wondered if someone might guide her to embrace tailoring instead of chasing uncertain dreams. On a battlefield stained by his own blood and desperation, Ronan lifted his gaze toward the radiant, multi-winged figure hovering above, his every wound echoing the silent confession that he had exhausted all possible means. In the enveloping darkness of a solitary panel, a sense of disappointment settled as the unseen narrator reflected that nothing had unfolded according to their hopes. On a tense, sweat-drenched morning, Ronan clutched his head in frustration, his inner turmoil boiling over as he cursed his inability to find relief. In a sun-dappled clearing, Ronan pounded desperately on the massive tree, his voice cracking with disbelief as he pleaded for someone to wake him if this nightmare was real, while Asel and Ade-chan looked on in anxious silence. On a peaceful village street, frustration simmered as someone wondered in disbelief how she could have suddenly sent them back in time and what they were meant to do alone. Then, as tension mounted behind the sheltering tree, Ronan's surprise deepened while he tried to process the staggering possibility that he might truly be back in time. Beneath the sprawling canopy of a towering tree, Ronan stood in quiet contemplation, his hand reaching up to grasp a branch as he wondered aloud what this moment could possibly signify. On a sunlit field, urgency crackled in the air as a lone foot launched forward, signaling the desperate beginning of a sprint across the grass. A surge of hope and determination surged through Ronan as he realized with fierce resolve that he had been granted another chance to save his sister. Bathed in a hopeful glow, Ronan surged upward into the radiant light, gripping his staff with unwavering resolve as the world seemed to open before him. On a bustling town street alive with movement, Ronan burst forward in a sudden sprint, determination etched across his face as he clutched a stick tightly in his hand, urgency fueling every stride. In the midst of a bustling crowd, Ronan pressed forward with unwavering resolve, his grip on the wooden stick tightening as he convinced himself that if this truly was the past, his destination must be just ahead. Ronan's keen gaze sharpened as he suddenly noticed something unexpected, his curiosity flickering across his focused eye. In the shade of a sprawling tree, tension filled the air as Ronan looked on in alarm, witnessing 3 jeering men dangle a helpless kid upside down and demanding to know who those punks were. In the shadow of a sprawling tree, tension thick in the air, a distressed young boy dangled upside down, bound tightly by ropes, while 2 boys nearby, one with a smug grin, watched his helpless struggle. Ronan sighed and turned away, wooden stick in hand, he seen two boys with knowing smirks, while a silent thought lingered that some people would never change. Suddenly, Ronan spun around, his eyes widening in shock as he realized the kid was not suspended by a rope but floating in midair, his grip on the tree trunk held aloft by unmistakable magic. Ronan stared off into the distance, his curiosity piqued as he wondered why someone with such rare magical talent would be hidden away far from the army and the world. On a bright day as leaves drifted in the gentle breeze, a sudden recollection surfaced: someone significant had been present in town at this very moment. On a shadowed forest path, Ronan, the nervous, inexperienced mage, stood trembling as blue magical energy flickered uncertainly between his hands, swirling leaves hinting at the anxious magic he struggled to control. Asel's trembling arms strained to keep the boy suspended above the ground, anxiety flickering in her eyes as she worried inwardly how much longer he could hold on before it became too dangerous for him. The bullied boy desperately pleaded for the torment to end. Suspended upside down from a gnarled tree, the boy struggled against his bindings as he desperately insisted that he had no money to give. The idiot boy touched the bullied boy's face as he quietly revealed the weight of spending everything he had on his mother's medicine that month, resignation softening his features. The idiot boy's smug laughter filled the air as he dangled the bullied boy upside down by the ankle, tauntingly demanding that he empty his pockets and scoffing at any mention of the boy's mother. The boy's fury erupted as he delivered a barrage of brutal slaps across the bullied boy's face, snarling that if he truly wanted to be a good son, he should prove it by giving even more. The boy hung defenseless as three mocking figures surrounded him outdoors, their laughter echoing while being slapped and beaten. His expression angry and voice raised, shouted. Asel began to get more nervous. The boy urges Asel to mount the captive even higher. Asel stood apart from the others, clutching a glowing object with trembling hands as the boy taunted him for his fear of dropping someone. The boy's eyes blazed with determination as he snapped a forceful command at Asel, demanding that he silence himself and help lift their companion. As the threat echoed in the fraught air, Asel recoiled with anxious dread, his pink hair framing a face alight with fear as he was warned he might face the same fate unless he complied. In a tense close-up, Asel's wide eyes brimmed with shock as she questioned inwardly how she could have made such a dire mistake. Lingering in the darkness that follows her realization, regret settled heavily as she wondered if embracing magic had been her first and greatest mistake. In the heart of a bustling square, Adeshan stood tall and determined, her eyes shining with hope as she summoned levitation magic to make fruits dance in the air before an awestruck crowd, wishing only to prove her true talent. In a shadowed chamber crackling with tension, Asel's trembling hand shimmered with blue energy as anxiety twisted within him, and he considered confessing that he couldn't go through with it. Suddenly, his anxiety spilled over into a broken protest, the words faltering in the charged silence as the darkness seemed to press in closer. Asel stood trembling, his pink hair framing a face contorted by fear as blue energy shimmered weakly in his hands, yet determination flickered in Hei's eyes while he urged herself that despite his terror, he needed to confess the truth to him. Adeshan stood between two menacing figures, her desperate plea for mercy met only with the smug and sinister smiles of the two boys. Suddenly, Asel thrust her glowing hands forward, her voice sharp with urgency as she demanded that the chaos before her come to an immediate halt. Ronan surged forward with a determined glare, swinging a wooden stick to break up the violence and shouting that the attacker needed to stop before he killed the defenseless, pink-haired boy. From high above, the bullied boy plummeted down and crashed onto the ground before Asel, and Ronan, the tense air charged with shock and concern as their eyes widened at his sudden fall. In the open air, tension crackled as the idiot stormed toward the startled Asel demanding to know if he had betrayed him simply because someone else ordered it, while he hastily protested that she hadn't meant to offend. Nearby, Adeshan, her expression clouded with concern, urged Asel to put the incident behind him and not let thoughts of that person trouble him any longer. Ronan insisted that they needed to talk. In a charged moment thick with tension, Ronan's wary eyes met the camera in close-up just as the idiot stormed in from behind, demanding answers with barely contained anger. Beneath a vivid blue sky, Ronan confronted Asel with sharp suspicion, demanding to know the origin of her telekinetic abilities, prompting her to nervously admit she had taught herself from a magic book she'd purchased from a traveling merchant. In a quiet chamber thick with anticipation, Ronan stared ahead with wide, astonished eyes, marveled that such formidable telekinesis could be mastered from nothing more than a cheap old magic book. Outside beneath the open sky, Ronan stood opposite of Asel, gripping a long stick with a focused gaze as he considered aloud that further tests might be needed, yet acknowledged to her that this new tactic could prove invaluable in their battles against the giants. In the stillness of a dim corridor, Ronan's alert gaze shifted sharply as the metallic gleam of a knife caught the light and he wondered aloud about the source of an ominous sound. The glint of the knife still fresh in his mind, shock rippled through Ronan as he suddenly realized someone nearby possessed a sword, heightening the tension in the dim corridor. Ronan's idiot opponent stood with fiery eyes and clenched his sword, his fury erupting as he demanded that no one dare look down on him. The idiot's furious gaze bore into his opponent as he warned that they were fortunate he had shown restraint so many times before. Then, gripping a real longsword with furious resolve, he launched a powerful attack, while his opponent, smugly observing, wondered aloud where a street thug could acquire such a weapon and noted that, despite his crude technique, raw strength was all that mattered in their world. In a haze of shifting colors, suspense thickened as an unseen voice hesitated, building anticipation with a single lingering thought. The idiot lunged forward with determined force, his blade arcing toward Ronan, who stood unshaken, confidently remarking that the real challenge was never against him. Under harsh fluorescent lights, the idiot's wide-eyed shock revealed the depth of his disbelief as he struggled to comprehend how his opponent had managed to evade the attack with such ease. Under the stark glow of his determined eyes, Ronan realized with growing confidence that despite traveling back in time, his hard-earned skills as a penal soldier remained deeply ingrained within him. Ronan stood resolute at the forefront, his gaze unwavering as the shadowy, battle-scarred presence behind him revealed the awakening of his fierce combat instincts. In the open air, tension hung thick as Ronan faced his confident opponent, whose smirk and ready sword revealed a taunt about how close Ronan had come to defeat, prompting Ronan to respond with measured calm, admitting that luck had favored him more now than ever before. Steel glinted in the tense air as the idiots, brandished his sword with a smug threat, demanding Ronan kneel and beg for mercy, yet Ronan, sword in hand and eyes unwavering, calmly retorted that he felt no fear. In the tense glow of a close-up, the idiot's lips curled into a sinister smile as his hand reached for his own neck, assuring Ronan in a chilling tone that if Ronan were to die, he would personally make sure Ronan's sister received his special attention. On a sunlit field, the idiot stood with a sword in hand, surprise flickering across his face as he questioned Asel about his sister, prompting Asel to cheerfully admit that seeing her always filled him with excitement. In the shadows of a dimly lit corridor, Ronan surged forward, his crimson eyes blazing with a sinister anger as he muttered his twisted desire with chilling intent. Suddenly, a spray of blood burst from his head as the idiot froze in shock, his grip tightening around the sword while the weight of his injury shattered his momentum. In a stark expanse of white, a single fragment of a blooded ear hung suspended in the air, capturing the breathless tension of a moment forever changed. The silence shattered as a sword crashed to the ground, the sharp sound cutting through the stunned tension and prompting someone nearby to exclaim in disbelief. In a sudden, searing moment, the idiot clutched his ear as agony twisted his features and a raw cry escaped him, echoing the intensity of his pain. In a tense standoff, the idiot kid clutched his ear in agony as pain overwhelmed him, prompting his friends to retreat anxiously while he cried out in distress. Dust swirled in the tense silence as Ronan's worn boot edged forward, his hesitant voice breaking through with a wary call. Ronan's anger erupted as he hurled a vicious insult, leaving the idiot frozen in shock beneath his glare. Ronan's furious gaze blazed as he threatened in a low, deadly voice to end his opponent's life right then and there.